I, 24M, am currently sitting in my own townhouse, debt-free, while my parents and sister are likely packing their bags for a cramped rental in a bad part of town. This is the story of how my family tried to ruin my life twice, and how I used the law to take everything they had left. The drama started 3 years ago. I was 21, a senior in college, and working my tail off to finish my architecture degree. I was living in the finished basement of my parents' house, paying them a maintenance fee every month. I thought we were a team. I was wrong. One Tuesday, my parents sat me down for the talk. My sister, then 18, was pregnant after a spring break trip. Instead of asking for my help, they demanded my space. My father told me I had 6 days to move out because my sister needed a suite for the baby. When I pointed out I had finals and was literally paying rent, my mother screamed that I was being selfish and that my sister was vulnerable. They kicked me out with less than a week's notice. I spent 2 months on a friend's couch and worked double shifts at a warehouse just to survive. I cut them off completely. I didn't go to my grandfather's funeral 6 months later because they didn't even tell me he was sick until he was already in the ground. Fast forward to a few weeks ago. Out of nowhere, my mother tracks me down on LinkedIn. Then my father starts texting me. They weren't calling to apologize. They were calling because they were in a legal nightmare. See, my grandfather was a retired judge and a very smart man. He didn't trust my father's financial sense, so when he helped them buy their house, he put 40% of the deed into a trust. That trust was set to vest in his eldest grandson once he turned 25 or finished a professional degree. I'm 24, I'm an architect, and I've met the requirements. My parents, meanwhile, had spent all their money enabling my sister's lifestyle. New SUVs, vacations, credit card debt, and they hadn't paid the property taxes in 2 years. They couldn't refinance or sell the house to pay the debt without my signature because I officially owned 40% of the roof over their heads. My sister actually had the nerve to call me and demand I sign a quitclaim deed. She told me I was robbing a baby and that I owed them for abandoning the family. My father tried to bribe me with $5,000 to sign away an interest worth nearly $180,000. When I said no, he threatened to sue me for back rent from when I was a kid and even tried to contact my firm to get me fired. That was their biggest mistake. I didn't get mad. I got a lawyer. My lawyer found out that because they let the taxes lapse, they had breached their duty to the property. Since I was a co-owner, I could force a partition by sale. I flew back home, but not to sign their papers. I showed up with a process server and handed them a lawsuit while they were standing in the foyer expecting a payday. My sister actually threw a rock in my car as I drove away, screaming that I was dead to them. I just told her I'd been dead to them for 3 years and was finally collecting the inheritance for it. The legal battle was satisfying. They tried to claim my grandfather was crazy when he wrote the trust, but since he was a literal judge, that went nowhere. The court looked at their bank records and saw they were spending money on luxury items while ignoring the house taxes. The judge was disgusted. She didn't just order the house to be sold. She appointed a receiver to kick them out immediately so the house could be staged. I stood on the sidewalk and watched the sheriff's deputies supervise their move out. My mother tried to fake a heart condition to get me to stop the sale, and my sister tried to guilt-trip me using her daughter. I didn't budge. The house sold for $620,000 cash. Here is the best part. In my state, my 40% share came off the top of a sale price, not what was left after their mortgage. I walked away with a check for $248,000. After the mortgage and taxes were paid, my parents were left with less than $120,000 to split. My lawyer even got the judge to deduct my legal fees from their share because of their bad faith behavior during the lawsuit. They are now living in a tiny apartment, and my sister is finally learning that the village doesn't exist when you burn all the bridges. I used my money to pay off my townhouse and invest in my future. They wanted to use me as a resource, so I decided to be an expensive one. If you think this story had a solid foundation and want more, hit that subscribe button. Unlike my family, I actually keep my word.